In this video, I'll do several examples of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing with fractions, including multiplying and dividing a whole number by a fraction and simplifying fractions. The first example is 5/3 plus 2/7. In order to add and subtract fractions, you must have a common denominator. The common denominator for 3 and 7 will be 3 times 7, which is 21, because 3 and 7 do not share any common factors. So in order to get 21 as a common denominator, I will multiply 5/3 by 7 over 7, and I will multiply 2/7 by 3 over 3. When I multiply fractions, I'll multiply the numerator. 7 times 5 is 35, and 7 times 3 is 21, plus 2 times 3 is 6, 7 times 3 is 21. Now that I have a common denominator of 21, I can add my numerators. 35 plus 6 is 41 over my common denominator of 21. Now I can leave this answer as my final answer because 41 and 21 do not have any common factors, so I cannot simplify this one. I could change it into a mixed number instead of this improper fraction where the numerator is bigger than the denominator, but that's not required, so we can leave it as this fraction. Our second example is 3/4 minus 5/9. Since 4 and 9 do not have any common factors, in order to get my common denominator, in order to subtract, I'm going to multiply 4 times 9 and 9 times 4 to get a common denominator of 36. 9 times 3 is 27. 5 times 4 is 20. So now I can subtract my numerators. 27 minus 20 is 7 over my common denominator of 36. 7 and 36 do not have any common factors, so that is my final answer. The third example is 3/10 plus 8/15. Now 10 and 15 do have a common factor of 5. 10 is 5 times 2, and 15 is 5 times 3. I'll show you two ways to find the least common denominator. One way is to multiply all the factors together, so you'd only use a 5 one time since this one has a 5 as well. 5 times 2 times 3 is 5 times 6, which is 30, or 10 times 3, which is 30. The other way that you could do it is you could list out all the multiples of 10. 10, 20, 30, and the multiples of 15. 15, 30, 45, and so on. The least common multiple that 10 and 15 have is 30. So in order to get this left fraction with a denominator of 30, we'll have to multiply by 3 over 3. And to get this denominator 30, we'll multiply by 2 over 2. 3 times 3 is 9, over 3 times 10 is 30, plus 8 times 2 is 16, over 15 times 2, which is 30. Now we can add our numerators together since we have a common denominator of 30. And that is 25. Now you will notice that 25 and 30 do have a common factor of 5. And one of the rules in math is that you always must simplify fractions whenever you can. So we'll divide 25 by 5, which is 5, and we'll divide 30 by 5, which is 6. And so 5/6 is our final answer. Our next example is 7/6 minus 20 over 24. We know that 24 is a multiple of 6, and so we just need to multiply this fraction by 4 over 4, and we don't have to multiply our second fraction. So we get 4 times 7 is 28 over 4 times 6 is 24 minus 20 over 24. 28 minus 20 is 8 over our common denominator of 24. Now 8 and 24 do have a common factor of 8, so we need to divide this one by 8, and we need to divide this one by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 24 divided by 8 is 3. So our final answer is 1/3. Now let's look at multiplying fractions. To multiply fractions, you do not need a common denominator, so you can just multiply straight across. So 3 times 4 is 12, and 10 times 5 is 50. Now 12 and 50 do have a common factor of 2, so we'll divide this one by 2, and we'll divide this one by 2 to get our final answer of 6 over 25. Now, there is a way to simplify before you multiply. Instead of simplifying here, we could have simplified before we multiplied. Anything in the numerator can be divided with anything in the denominator. So we could have said, okay, this 4 and this 10 both have 2, a factor of 2, so you can divide this 4 by 2 and then this 10 by 2. And then when you multiply, you do 3 times 2 is 6, 5 times 5 is 25. And so you see how you get the exact same answer. The next example is 20 times 2/5. Anytime that you have a whole number, you can always put it above 1. So we can multiply. Since we're multiplying, we don't need a common denominator, so we can do 20 times 2 is 40, over 1 times 5 is 5. 40 divided by 5 is 8. Or we could have simplified before we multiplied. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 20 divided by 5 is 4. And then just multiply 4 times 2 is 8. The next example is 4/5 divided by 1/8. Now there's a thing in math that we say in order to change division to multiplication, say keep, change, flip to help you remember. So we keep this number the same, 4/5. We're going to change our division to multiplication, and then we're going to flip this. We're going to take the reciprocal of whatever is here. So this becomes 4/5 times 8 over 1. So 4 times 8 is 32 over 5 times 1 is 5. 32 and 5 do not have any common factors, so that is our final answer. We can also see that here, that nothing in the numerator has any common factors with anything in the denominator. The final example is 12 divided by 2/3. So we're going to keep the 12, we're going to change division to multiplication, and take the reciprocal, flip the next number. So 2/3 flipped is 3/2. Now you can always put this over 1. So we can do 12 times 3 is 36 over 1 times 2 is 2. Now 36 is divisible by 2, and that's 18. So that's our final answer. Now we could have simplified instead. At this stage here, we know that 12 is divisible by 2 here, so we could have done 12 divided by 2 is 6, 2 divided by 2 is 1, multiplied 6 times 3 is 18. And we can get our answer either way. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and check out my other videos.